Okay, perfect. So welcome. Welcome to this ETS workshop. Our topic today is assignments, gradebook, and Speedgrader. And this is going to be a very interesting workshop to dive into how you can use assessment in Canvas. So today, facilitators today is myself. I'm Eduardo Rebagliati. I'm a learning technology specialist. And here joining me is my colleague, Naomi Sawai. Do you want to say hi, Naomi?
Hi, everybody. I'm Naomi. I'm an educational technologist at ETS and really happy to see you today.
Yeah, fantastic. And Naomi is an expert with everything here of assessments, so she'll be able to show us very interesting things. Of course, we would like to start with a land acknowledgement. So we would like to acknowledge that UBC Vancouver is situated on the traditional and ceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And particularly in my case, I'm here in the Musqueam territory at UBC. So please, if you would like to share your land acknowledgement, you can do so in the chat. I'll leave you a few seconds to do that. And you can always find more information about First Nations at nativeland.ca. Very good. So the agenda for today, we're going to be looking at 4 things. So we will start with Gradebook. We're going to be looking at the grade posting policy, very important feature in Gradebook, and also how you can organize and manage the Gradebook. Then we will go into assignments. And by the way, these numbers are the time, so like 10 minutes for the first one, then 15 minutes for grade weighting, group assignments, and rubric. Then we will go into Speedgrader, and we will look at how the interface is organized, also annotation tools, grading with a rubric, and finally, how you can give comments to students as you are grading. And finally, if we have time, hopefully we'll have a Q&A part so you can present us with questions. And also, of course, as we are presenting, feel totally free to put questions in the chat or even like raise your hand or just go right in and speak to us and let us know if you have any questions or things you would like us to clarify. Perfect. So we're going to start with Gradebook, and Naomi is going to take the lead, and we'll take it from there. So Naomi, you can go ahead. Oh, I think you read it.
Okay, let's hop into Gradebook. We've set up kind of a course for this workshop. And as you know, you can access the Gradebook from your side navigation menu under Grades. And by default, this is what you're going to see. By default, you'll see all of your students listed on the left side, and you'll see all of your assignments that you've set up for your course along the top. So what I thought I'd do today is take a look at some of the settings that might be useful for you when you are going about grading, and also ways to manage the information in your gradebook, because it can be overwhelming when you see all of your assignments. So there are ways that you can filter and sort and search and communicate with your students within the gradebook. So first, let's take a look at a very important setting, in my opinion, and that is the grade posting policy. And you want to think about your grade posting policy before you actually start grading any of your student assignments. Where you can find the grade posting policy is in the upper right-hand corner of the gradebook. And you look at this gear icon, which you can drop down. And here you get things, you can set your policies for missing submissions or late submissions if you wanted to set rules for those. And then you've got your grade posting policy. By default, it may be set to automatically post grades. So you have 2 options: automatically post grades or manually post grades. In the case of automatically post grades, that means when you start grading and giving feedback to students, as soon as you submit a grade for a student or feedback, Canvas will notify the student that they've had something happen, like something's been graded. And perhaps that's fine for you, but perhaps you don't want to do it that way. Perhaps you would prefer to grade all of the students first, take a look at how that worked out, and when you're ready, you will post them so that everybody gets the grade at the same time. If that's something you're interested in, then you want to select manually post grades. And then what happens then is when you start entering grades and submitting comments on their work, that will remain hidden to the students until you post them. So that's automatically post or manually post. I recommend manually posting grades. And then whenever you make a change in your settings, you've got to scroll down to the bottom and click apply settings. So now I've applied manual posting. And that will apply to all of the assignments that you are grading in the course. You can also set the grade posting policy for individual assignments. So to do that, to change any of the settings for an individual assignment, you can go to find an assignment that you're interested in the grade book. And right next to the assignment title, there's the 3 dots for your assignment settings. Click on that. If you scroll down to the bottom, you will also see grade posting policy here. And if you click on that, it will give you a pop-out window here, and you can set the grade posting policy for that individual assignment. And when you do that, it will override the default course grade posting policy. So that's something to consider as well. Did anybody have any questions about the grade posting policy? Okay, no questions, let me move on. The second thing I want to take a look at is how you can manage some of the information in here. So again, by default, you will see all of your students listed here and all of your assignments. And if you have a lot of assignments, you're going to have to scroll through to get to the total at the end here. Ways that you can manage the gradebook though, however, is on the upper left-hand corner of the gradebook, you can actually choose to view an individual gradebook. So if you don't want to see all of your students, you can actually select individual gradebook. And you can choose a student that you're interested in looking at. So for example, I could choose test student 2, and then you can see any of the assignments that they've done will come down below. I'm going to go back to the default gradebook view. Other things that you can do is sort how you see your student data. And you can do that by clicking these top 3 dots. So you could sort, of course, by alphabetically, A to Z or Z to A, or by some other identifier. You can display first name first or last name first. And also you can set secondary information. So for example, if your students are in groups and you want to know, like right now, I just see the student information, but if I actually wanted to know what groups they were in, I could actually choose that as secondary information. And now it shows what groups they're in. So that's kind of handy to know as well. So that's displaying your student information. You might also want to have some notes about your students or notes about that you want to put in your gradebook. So you can add a column here by clicking view notes, and that will just pop up another column for you. And maybe you want to add some information about that student that will help you remember something. So you can add this notes column to help you. Now let's take a look at how you can organize all of these assignments. For one thing, you can change the way you view assignments by, like this is the default order, but you can order your assignments alphabetically. You can order your assignments by due date, newest to old or oldest to new. And of course, you can also just drag them around like this, like you can actually move them by dragging them. So you can decide on the arrangement that works for you. You can also filter assignments. So maybe I want to just look at filter by student groups. And that will pop up anytime you select a filter, it will pop up on the right hand, a filter drop down. So maybe I only want to look at group 1. So if I choose that filter, notice now the students, I can only see the students for group 1. And maybe I want to filter it even more. I want a specific assignment, and I want to look at group assignment 1. If I select that, now I've really cut down on the information I can see. I'm looking at group assignment 1, and I'm only looking at group 1. So these are different ways that you can filter and search and arrange. So don't be afraid to play around with your gradebook, so that you can not have to be confronted with so much information here.
Mm-hmm.
And the final thing I want to look at is, let's take a look at some of the settings you have for an assignment in Gradebook. So again, if I choose a assignment, let's choose, for example, well, I'm going to search for their peer review assignment. And let's say I wanted to, and I could actually sort by grade. If I've entered grades, I can sort by how the highest grade to the lowest grade. I can sort by the people who are missing, they haven't submitted yet, or if they're late. I can access the Speedgrader directly from the assignment. So of course you can access the Speedgrader in different ways. This is just one way. I can also message my students. So if I select this, I can, for example, I can message students who have not submitted yet. So maybe the assignment deadline is looming or it's passed, and you wanted to just message those students who have not submitted yet. You can type your message here. It tells me that there's one student that hasn't submitted, but maybe there's 5 students that haven't submitted. It will identify all of those students. You can give them a message, maybe a gentle reminder, and send, and that will send out a message to just those students. So you've got some options here for messaging students. You can also set a default grade. So if you think that, like, let's say it's class participation or something like that, if you think that most students will have the same grade, you can set a default grade and it will just populate all of the students with the same grade. You can download their submissions. So if that's something that you want to have some kind of a backup copy, if you click download, then all of these submissions will download to your machine. And of course, you've got the grade posting policy here that I just showed you. So those are some of the things that you can, information and settings and options you have under your specific assignment settings. Okay, so we've looked at the grade posting policy. We've looked at filtering, arranging, and searching for information within the gradebook and some of the settings that you have for each assignment. Did anybody have any questions about the gradebook?
I have a question. So when
Yeah.
you go into the gradebook and you see the order, is that like from first to last, like the default order? What is it?
You mean here, these assignments?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you mentioned
so
that you can change the order, but like when you first go in the default order, what is it?
I'm not sure. I think that that's a good question. How Canvas, like probably by the date you create that assignment.
Oh yeah,
So
that makes sense.
when you set up your gradebook, you actually don't set it up in Gradebook, right?
Yeah.
You might think that you would, but you don't actually add assignments here. You add an assignment by creating an assignment on your assignment page.
Yeah.
As soon as you create a graded assignment, it's going to add a column here. So the default is probably how you started adding your assignments, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah.
It's just good to know that you can arrange them in different ways. But
Yeah,
that's
super useful.
good
Yes.
question. Yeah. Okay, so if there are no more questions about Gradebook, let's just jump into assignments. So as I mentioned, your assignments is where you're going to create your gradebook. And here's an example of an assignment page where you have all of your assignments listed on the page. And what you want to think about here is how do you want to set up your grading for your assignments? How do you want them to be organized? Right now, you can see that I have one assignment group. It's called assignments, and all of my assignments are listed here. So that's one way to organize. And a lot of instructors do it this way. If you don't have that many assignments, maybe that's a good way to do it. Or all of your assignments are vastly different. When you do it this way, and again, you're thinking about how you want Canvas to calculate your final grades, because Canvas is going to do all that for you. You just want to make sure you set it up in the way that you want it done. So in this list view with only one assignment group, each one of these assignments has a point value, as you can see here. So what Canvas will do when calculating the final grades is that it's going for each student, Canvas will add up all of the points that a student has gotten for his assignments or for her assignments, and then divide that by the total possible points to get a percentage, and that will be the final grade for the student. And that might work for you. However, you might decide you want to organize your grades differently, and you may decide that you want to weight your grades in a particular way. And to do that, you're going to add assignment groups. So I'm going to add an assignment group, but before I do that, I want to look at what would make sense for me. So if I look at the assignments I've set up so far, I notice that I have a few or several graded discussions. So that might be a group that would be useful to have. So I'm going to click plus group, and I'm going to give this group a name, graded discussions, for example. Save. And now you can see it's added a group down below. And I'm going to, you can add assignments to a group by just clicking add assignment, and you can create an assignment that way. But I'm going to just drag the ones that I have. So I'm going to drag these ones down. Graded assignment week 1, graded assignment week 3, and week 2. And this is quite common as well. You might have 10 graded assignments if they're weekly, right? And so I've organized my graded assignments all together. Looking again at the assignments up here, I notice that I have final project, and it has a couple of different steps there. That might make sense to put together. So I'm going to create an assignment group called final project. That's going to give me another assignment group, and I'm going to drag all these down into here. Okay. Now I've got 3 groups that make sense to me. And I might decide, okay, when I think about the grades, I would like the final project to be worth a significant amount. They have to do a literature review, they're doing a research paper, they're going to present the results or whatever. So this is a pretty big sort of project for them. And altogether, I think this should be worth 40%. Or 50%, whatever you think of their grade. So whatever these are, I want this whole group to be worth that much. I'm going to set up assignment group weights. To do that, I'm going to go right up back to the upper right corner of your assignment page. You've got some assignment settings here. Click there, and you have the option assignment groups weight. And then I can click weight final grade, and now it will call up the groups that you created. So I've got 3 groups: assignments, graded discussions, final project. What I would like is this, and altogether this should add up to 100%. So I would like, as I mentioned, my final project to be worth 40. I would like my graded discussions. They're not, I mean, there's something that they do weekly, but I don't want that to be such a significant part. I think maybe 20%. Might be reasonable. And now, so that's 60%. So this is going to be the remainder. I think it would be useful to have 40%. So I've got 40, 20, 40. That works for me. I'm going to save. And now you can see what's happened is Canvas has indicated to you what percentage of the total grade this assignment group will be worth. What that means is that these assignments that are inside the group, they are worth points. Canvas will, as I mentioned, add them all up, total points they got, divided by the total points possible, come up with a percentage, and whatever that percentage is, it's going to be worth 40%. And it's going to add up all of the group discussion grades. They're worth 3 each, make a percentage. And even if you have 20 group discussions worth 3 points, it's only going to be worth 20%. Okay, does that make sense? So that's the weighting. That's how weighting works in Canvas. I hope that's pretty clear. And when you go back and look at the gradebook, so I'm going to refresh my gradebook now. You can see what it's done. If I scroll over to the right, Gradebook has now added these assignment group columns to the gradebook. And as you start entering grades, it's going to automatically update that portion, that group, that assignment group, and start weighting it accordingly. So that's a really a nifty and convenient feature that Canvas does for you. Okay, so now I've talked about group weights, how to set up groups, and how to set the weighting. Does anybody have any questions about that part?
I have a question. So
Yeah.
normally many teachers, they want to have like a class participation grade.
Yeah.
How would they usually do that here in this context?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Eduardo. So you can see that I have class participation here as an assignment, and it's worth 10 points. And it will show up in the gradebook, as you can see. I'll look for it here. Class participation. So you can see it's here. So I would probably, I mean, there are different ways you can enter grades in Canvas. One is entering them in the gradebook, and one is entering them Speedgrader, which Eduardo's going to show you. But I've created a column here, even though the students aren't submitting anything. So let me show you what that looks like in the assignment settings. So I think what I'll do next is I'll go into an assignment and show you what some of the setting options you have in the assignment. And this will be related to how to set up class participation. Well, maybe I should just go to class participation since that's the one. What's that? Yeah, Eduardo?
And yeah, and if you wanted like the class participation to have a specific percentage of the course, you will have to create it as a group.
Yes,
right?
yes. In this context, yes, that's a good question. So in this context, when you're setting up weights like this, in order to have, so the weighting is based on the assignment group, right? So if you want to set up weighted grades, you need to set up the group first in order to assign a weighting to it, right? So if class participation was all on its own, so let's just modify this. Oh, whoops, I have to set up a group. So I'm going to add another group. I'm going to call it class participation. Participation. And I want it to be worth 10%. I'm going to have to change a few things because now it's going to be worth 100 and something percent, right? So 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So it's 110%. So I'm going to have to take 10% off somewhere else. So maybe I'll take it off here, graded discussion. So I'm going to edit the groups, graded discussion. I'm going to make this 10 because you do want it to work out to be 100. And boom, now I've added class participation down here. I'm going to drag that assignment down here, and now there you go. So class participation will be 10. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Now let's take a look at a specific assignment and what some of your options are for setting up the assignment settings. So this is my summary writing assignment. I've got my assignment description here. It tells you how many points, how students will submit, what type of file you accept, when it's due, and it has a rubric, a grading rubric added to it. So let's look at how I set that up. So you can always click edit anytime you want to edit an assignment. And I get my editing features. So here's my description. It's worth 12 points. So you just add how many points. You need to have a point value for an assignment if it's a graded assignment and it's going to go into Gradebook. You don't necessarily have it, if you don't want it to count towards the final grade, you can select this option. But in order to set it up as a graded assignment, it does have to have a point value. But you can change how that's displayed, right? So even though this is 12 points, I can display it as a percentage, or I could display it just as complete, incomplete. So you've got some options how they're actually displayed. The only exception in this display grade as is the not graded Okay, so if you select not graded as display grades as, then it will not show up in the gradebook actually, but everything else, it will show up in the gradebook. You also have the option of, well, you can determine which assignment group. So now we've got the 4 groups here. So you can determine which group your assignment will belong in. So this one is in assignment group called assignments. Okay, then scrolling down to submission type, you've got, first of all, 4 submission types available. No submission and on paper are similar in that means that the students will not actually be giving you anything in the Canvas assignment Dropbox. So if no submission would mean they're giving you nothing at all. So class participation maybe would be a no submission, right? So if I want to create a column in the gradebook for class participation, I want it to be worth something toward their grade, then I need to create this assignment, even though they're not giving me anything, right? So remember, anything that you want to appear in the gradebook, you have to create the assignment. So class participation would be no submission. On paper, and that also no submission might be also things like if they give a presentation and they're not actually giving you anything. So this is some examples. On paper is if you're teaching face-to-face, for example, and they're actually giving you a physical piece of paper. Again, they're not going to be using the Dropbox, but you still want that to be in the gradebook. Online now, if you're teaching online and you want to use the Canvas Dropbox, you're going to select online, and then you have a number of different options for how students will submit that assignment online. Text entry, website URL, a media recording, student annotation, or file upload. Text entry simply means that when they click submit assignment, they will get something like this open up, a rich text editor where they can copy and paste information directly into the Canvas assignment. That would be text entry. Website URL would just link to something. So let's say, for example, your students had to do a blog, they had to create a blog post, and you're going to assess them on that. They could give you a link to their blog. Media recordings, if you select media recording, when students submit the assignment, it will pop up the option to use the Canvas media recorder. So they'll be able to automatically record themselves for that assignment. Student annotation is a little bit different. That means you will be providing a document for the students that they have to annotate, and you're grading them on their marking up of that document. And then file upload, which is probably one of the most common, at least for written assignments, is where they will attach a PDF or a Word document to the assignment. And this is where you want to think about what you want them to submit to you. You may or may not choose to restrict upload file types. Restricting upload file types would set up a situation where students must give you either, in this case, a Word document or docx or a PDF, or you could specify also like a PowerPoint, something like that. This can affect the Speedgrader in the following ways. If you don't select these, if you don't restrict the file type, and your student works on a Mac, an Apple computer, some students may not use the Microsoft Office suite. They may use the Apple native software, so they might use Pages instead of Word, or they may use Keynote instead of PowerPoint and try to submit that. If you also use an Apple computer, you will be able to open those files. But if you don't, if you use a PC computer, it might be that you will not be able to open those files that the student has submitted. So that's why you maybe want to think about restricting the file type so that the students need to submit something that you can actually open. Then you've got submission attempts. how many attempts they're allowed, whether it's a group assignment, and whether you require peer reviews. So this particular assignment is not a group assignment, but it does require peer reviews. So peer review, if you do select peer review as part of your assignment, that means there's going to be more than one step to this assignment. The students are going to have to submit an assignment, and once they've submitted, they have to do the extra step of giving feedback to one of their peers on their assignment. So you can set that up by selecting require peer reviews. You have the option of manually assigning peer reviews. So that means you're actually going to say, I want Eduardo to work with Frederick, and I want Alex to work with Naomi. So you can manually choose who's going to review what, or you can let Canvas automatically assign peer reviews, which it will do once students have started submitting their assignments. They'll automatically show. You can have anonymous peer reviews. So if you select peer reviews appear anonymously, then the students will not be able to see who they're reviewing, and the reviewer will not be able to see, or the student will not be able to who reviewed them. So that's an option as well. You as the instructor will always be able to see who reviewed who, but that's for students. So those are some examples for assignment settings here. So I'm going to just cancel. I didn't make any changes. I want to show you a group assignment next, unless you have any questions up to now. I'm watching my time because Eduardo still needs to talk about Speedgrader and a few other things. So let me just really quickly show you group assignment settings. So that's the other thing you can do, is set up a group assignment. So here's my group assignment. I'm in my settings. So if you want to set up a group assignment, you can select this option. This is a group assignment. In the default case, notice here, you can choose whether every student in a group gets their own grade, or whether the group will get one grade. So everybody in this group will get one grade. So by default, the way I have set it up now is that in Speedgrader, as Eduardo will show you, the group, instead of seeing an individual's name in the Speedgrader, you will see the name of the group, and you give that group a grade, and it will automatically give everybody in that group a grade, unless you select differently. The main thing about group assignments is that you need to assign the groups. So you have to set up what we call a group set. And a group set is made up of groups, and then you have to put the assignments in those groups. You can either, if you've already set up group sets and groups previously, you can choose a group. So this one has already got a group set assigned to it. You could also set up the group set at the time that you make the assignment. So I could create a group set and the groups as I create the assignment. Alternatively, you can create group sets and groups outside of the assignment. You can do that in the people link of your Canvas course. And that might be useful if you know that you'll be setting up different groups for different purposes and you want to get that all organized. So what will happen now is Eduardo is going to show you how to create group sets, groups, add students to those groups, and once students are in groups, what some of the features of Canvas these students will have access to when they're working in their groups, unless anybody has any questions right now about what I've said about assignment settings. Okay, no more questions. Then I will leave it to Eduardo to talk about groups.
Perfect. Thank you, Naomi. Okay, so let's talk about the groups. And thank you, Naomi. That was so clear and very, very interesting. I learned a couple of things myself. So if we want to create a group, like Naomi was mentioning, we can do it in the actual assignment when we're creating the assignment, but usually we do create them in the people section. So if we go to the section here in Canvas called people, we can start creating the different group sets. Now by group sets, we mean that maybe like throughout the course, you'll have like 3 assignments and you want to create different groups for each assignment. So the way you do that, it's very simple. We go to people, like I was mentioning, and then here we have the ability to create a group set. So we already have one. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'll create a new one from scratch. So for example, group assignment 1, we see that we have 2 groups, group 1 and group 2. And as you can see, we can also see the students that are in the group. Now, the way we can put students in a group can be randomly, or we can actually put them by, we can choose what student will be in each group, or students can pick what group they want to be in. So very flexible in that sense. So how do we create the group set? We go here to group set. And what was the name for this one? Group assignment 1. Okay, so let's imagine we have a second assignment. And we call this group assignment 2. So as you can see here, we have the option to allow self sign up. That will mean that students would go in and they would see the groups, say group number 1 and number 2, and then they can join the group that they want to be a part of. But in this case, we'll be creating it. We'll be assigning people to the groups. So I won't use this option now. And then group structure. Here we can split students by number of groups, or split number of groups with students per group. So I'll do this manually as well. So I'll just click here, save. And as you can see, I have here the unassigned students. So these are, you will see all the students in your course. If you have 20 students, you'll see the 20 names there. And here we have the groups. So by default, we'll see 0 groups. We have to create the groups for the group set. So what we'll do is click on group. And let's call this group A. You can also set a limit for the group. This is very useful, especially if students are signing up for a group, because maybe you have like 5 different themes, and maybe all students are interested in theme 1. And if you don't have a limit, they will all get there. So if you have 20 students and you want to have 4 groups with 5 people each, you will just put the limit here, 5. So in this case, let's save it just like that in this case. In this case, because it's just a small group, but just take that into consideration. So perfect, we have group 1. Now let's create group 2. So we go here, same thing, group 2.
Maybe you want to call that group B since you called it.
Oh, sorry.
A.
Yes. I was thinking of the other one. Thank you for that. So we have group A and group B. And now we want to put the students into the group. So it's just a matter of clicking and dragging. So let's say we want student 5 here. And you'll see it's showing up now that we have 1 student here. And student 4, student 6 here, 3, and 2. Now, the very nice feature is that once we have a group, the students get like a special group space. So the way they can access this and the way you can see it is you'll have to go here into the group name to the right, where you have these 3 dots, and you can visit the group homepage. So students of the group will also be able to access this page. And this page is kind of like a private Canvas space, so to speak, and they can do different things here. For example, they can, well, you can send them announcements to communicate the specific things to that group. They can also have discussions, so they can start communicating to prepare for the assignment or start organizing themselves and such. They can also have files that they want to share. And well, you can see the people who is in the group, and you as a teacher will also be in the group, of course. So in this case, you can see Naomi and I are in the group because we're the teachers and the TAs. And then also they can create pages, kind of like when you create pages in Canvas with content, the same thing. So very handy in that regard. And yeah, that's how you create the groups. So now in the time we have left, let's go to Speedgrader and then we'll have the Q&A. So if we go to assignments, let's get, by the way, if you want to escape this page, how do you do that? Just click here. Okay, this should take you to what you usually see. Okay, so let's say we want to do an assessment of an assignment, and we want to use this feature, this program called Speedgrader, which is fantastic and allows you to do many things. You will go into the assignment. So let's say we want to grade this summary writing assignment. And you'll see that on the right, we have the option to choose Speedgrader. So this is the program that will allow you to grade this a specific assignment. So this will open up a new window. And this is a Speedgrader. So let's see what we have here in the interface. First of all, at the top, you can see the name of the student you're assessing in this particular case. So we see here student 4, and we can use these arrows to change between the students and see all the different submissions. So that's like the main thing I would say. First of all, you want to know who you're grading. And you'll see also the information of what grade they have acquired and the title of the assignment and all the relevant information. Then, of course, you'll see the document. And the important thing here is that they can submit in different ways, like Naomi said. So it can be a PDF. It will normally be a PDF or a Word document. But sometimes they will do you will also see like missing assignments, of course. And it can also be like a text entry. So when you have a text entry, some of the features for annotation are actually not available. Actually, all of them are not available. So we normally want to use Word or document, so we can use the annotation tools. Then, well, here you'll see the document and the annotation tools. We'll look at that in a second. But first of all, let's see here in the right, you have like the grading features. So here you'll have some information, word count, submitted files, and you can put the grade here. So let's say, for example, it was 10 out of 12. But also, if you are using a rubric, you can use the rubric to do the assessment. So, oh, this one has already been done. So maybe
maybe this isn't the best student to choose. Notice, but I wanted to show you something about that. Look who that is an example. This is an example of a peer reviewed. So you can see this particular assignment has already been peer reviewed by a student. So that's where that shows up. When you set up peer reviews and they go in and make comments, there is, so that student has used this rubric. So maybe. Yeah.
So maybe I should change student then, or maybe another assignment in this case. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Okay. So for example, oh no, but this is the one that is a text submission. So, okay, this one is perfect. Okay, so in this one, you'll see you can do the grading using the rubric. So as you can see on the right, we see the rubric. And then on each specific criteria, you can have some comments and put the points. So in this case, it will be, let's say 2, and you got 3, and you got 1, and here 3. And then you got the final grade. And here you can also add a comment. So when you submit the grade, students will get they will see the grade that they got, and they will also see the rubric with all this information of how they perform in each specific item. And they can also receive a comment by you. So giving them feedback or suggestions and such. So when you finally do that, you will click on submit, and that will be submitted. But the annotation tools are also very useful. So this will allow you to, well, like when you're grading on paper and you want to write on top of that and do annotations, it's the same thing. So in this case, for example, you can use some of the different features. This one is the highlight annotation, so you can highlight a part. Let's see that. And then you can leave a comment. So let's say you highlighted this and We can leave a comment here. You can change the color of the annotation. So maybe like you're using, I don't know, yellow for good things and maybe red for things that are not as good. Then you can also use the free text annotations. So this will allow you to just like freely write on top of the document. And you can also use the strikeout annotation. So to strike some things there. And also you can leave a comment. So it allows you to do different things inside of the document and also leave comments. And then when students get the grade, they see the document also with all these comments and observations.
And you can also download that, right? So in the upper left corner above the red dot there, you could actually download that annotated document if you wanted to have a record of that.
Yes. So any questions about Speedgrader, or maybe Naomi, something that you would like to add? No? Okay. Perfect. So now let's go into the Q&A. We have 8 minutes. So Frederick and Alex, feel free to let us know if you have any questions, things that came up as we were presenting. No?
No, all good.
All good? Seems.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah, I think like now it's a matter of just going in and trying these things out. But I think like Canvas and all the things that you can do in Canvas are fairly intuitive. So it's just a matter of going in and playing around. But as you can see, you can do many interesting things with the assessments, like all the assessment functions in Canvas. I think it's really comprehensive.
Oh yeah, a couple of questions. So Alex, in answer to your question, yes, we will be posting the video. You can watch it where, Eduardo?
Oh yeah, that will be in our website, on our website. So let's go to the ETS website. I'll quickly show you where you'll find it. Obviously it's not there yet, but it will be maybe like in the next couple of hours or tomorrow. But if you go to events, you'll see all the upcoming events. And in this section, you can see the previous workshops and events. So if you go here, you'll see the last events that we've done, the workshops, and you see that some of them have the watch recording option. So for this one, you'll find it. And it will just be a matter of clicking there, and you can go in and you'll find the description, and below you'll find the video. So you can always reference back to that.
And Frederick also had a question about, can we grade assignments by student groups? Yes. So that's why we had that set up. So maybe Eduardo will go back to the Speedgrader and just show you what that looks like. So you're going to have to open up the group assignment. So this is the summary writing. So go back to assignments and open up the group assignment, and then you'll see what it looks like in Speedgrader.
Okay, so the same thing, we go to group assignment, and we go to Speedgrader.
And see, notice what you see now.
Well, we see that there's no...
They haven't, nobody's posted, but you can see instead of student names, as you can see in the upper right corner, you see the group, right? So once a group member has posted an assignment, if you have it set up that everybody gets the same group, once they've done that, you, instead of seeing the names, you will see the group name. And when you grade, so sorry, there's actually, I didn't submit on the part of the group, but you're going to select group 1, say, the assignment will be there. You will give it a grade, and automatically everybody in that group, because you've set it up that way, will get that same grade for that assignment.
Exactly. So it'll be the same process. So you'll find the document, you can do the annotations, and then you can, if you have a rubric, you can use that for grading, and finally add some comments, and they will receive that.
Now, the important thing about group assignments is you want to be sure that you've set it up correctly in the first place, which means that you've created the group set, you've created the groups, you've put the students in the groups and you've linked that group set to the assignment. If you've done all of those steps correctly, then Speedgrader will work very well.
Yeah, so I think like Naomi's mentioning, making sure that everything is set up correctly. In this case, having the group assignment, having the people in each group, and also when you're creating the assignment, make sure that that's linked to the actual to the group assignment. So in this case, it would be going to it was here, right? If we go to edit,
and then edit. So here, yeah, so just make sure that that's there, that the students are in the groups and that is linked to the assignment. There could be a problem, like let's say a student for some reason did not get put into a group for some reason, and you wanted to grade their assignment and give them feedback. You want to make sure you would have to actually create a group set for that student because it's a group assignment. So if there was an outlying student all by themselves, create a group set for that student so that they can be graded in the group, in the group assignment.
Yeah, and something that also happens is that maybe you want to give a unique grade to each person in the group. So if you want to do that, you can choose this option here of assign grades to each student individually. Great. Any more questions? No? Okay, perfect. So just to wrap up, mentioning some of the upcoming workshops that we have a very interesting discussion coming up. This is a part of our viewpoints discussion series, and it's on technology and accessible learning. So that's going to be next week on the 29th. So we're going to have some special guests who will be discussing this very interesting topic. And then always make sure to connect with us. You can follow us on Twitter to find out about the workshops that we're doing. You can always subscribe to our mailing list or book a one-on-one consultation. You can do that on our website.
Yeah, so once you start working with your gradebook and setting up your assignments, or you're running into problems with Speedgrader, please reach out to us. We're really happy to help answer any questions or walk you through anything that you might be struggling with the gradebook or with your assignment. So don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Great. Okay, thank you. So thanks for joining us and have an excellent day. See ya. Bye.